Hi everybody, my name is Amy and I'm one of the librarians who works in the Pennsylvania department at Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh. Today I wanted to take a few minutes to talk about DNA testing related to genealogy, or also known as genetic genealogy. A lot of people will ask questions about this and how they can use it to further their genealogy research, so it's definitely worth talking about. Full disclosure, I am not an expert on this. I have my DNA kit sitting on the other side of the room, ready for me to spit in a tube and send it in. So I am learning a lot about this, just the same as you are, and we'll learn more as we go along. We're definitely coming back to this topic, so keep an eye out for more conversations about genetic genealogy. The first thing when people ask us about doing genetic genealogy testing that we will ask back is why they want to test. There's a couple of reasons for this. On some levels, it's just fun to get that ethnicity estimate back and see if it matches up with what you always thought you knew about your family. We've all seen that commercial on TV where the guy starts out wearing a kilt and then ends up wearing lederhosen by the end, or it's the other way around, I can't remember. But you know which one I'm talking about. And so if you've been doing your research and you have good documentation, there shouldn't be any surprises that drastic in your ethnicity estimate, but it is always fun to see what's mixed in there along with those major percentages that will match up with your research. Now, the other side of the coin is that DNA testing really does help you when you have a brick wall in your research, and that's all of us at some point, or if you have a real mystery that you're trying to solve because you have just absolutely no information, say, about the parents of an adopted ancestor. That's where this research really comes into play and helps you get over the hump and down to the next generation. So when you're thinking about DNA testing, be thinking about what information you want to find in your test results. There are three types of DNA tests. The first is a very broad test called autosomal DNA. And that's not looking for anything specific, maternal or paternal. It does testing at different points along the chromosomes and just brings you back very broad results. If you are doing research that is specific to a paternal line, then you might want to look at what is called a Y-DNA test. That looks at the DNA that is passed from fathers to sons only. So along with that, keep in mind, if you are a woman, you cannot take this test. It will not generate any results because you do not have a Y chromosome. You would have to find your closest male relative and test them to do genetic genealogy research in that male line. The third type of test is mitochondrial DNA, and that looks at DNA results that are DNA and chromosomes that are passed from mothers to either sons or daughters. And that's useful when you're doing research in your maternal line and have a brick wall to get through. There are dozens of companies that are out there providing genetic genealogy research, some for straight up genealogy purposes, others will add in health-related testing, but there are three big companies that a lot of people are using, and so I'll talk about those today. But like I said, these are absolutely not the only ones out there. The one that most of us would be familiar with is AncestryDNA. They are the makers of that commercial I mentioned. And they, at this point, are just doing autosomal DNA testing. That is the broad test results that you would get back. And they say they have 15 million records in their database. We'll come back to that in a minute and why that matters. The next company I want to mention is called 23andMe, and they do the broad autosomal testing, but they also offer specialized tests for both Y-DNA and mitochondrial DNA, and they have 3 million records in their database. And the third one to mention is Family Tree DNA, and they also offer the autosomal as well as specialized Y-DNA and mitochondrial DNA tests. And right now they say they have 2 million people in their database. What you will get back from all three of these companies, if you're just doing the autosomal test, are the ethnicity estimates that tell you you're 30% Scottish and 25% German. And you will also get the genetic matches, a list of people who share genetic material with you. You get more specialized results if you do the more specialized testing, but that is what is guaranteed from all three, is that ethnicity estimate and the cousin matching. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that the matches you get back are only matches from within that specific company's database. So Ancestry having 15 million people in the database, you have a much better chance of finding some matches than FamilyTreeDNA with 2 million, unless your other family members are really hardcore genetic genealogists and they've done testing with all of the major companies. So what is the cost of that? And do you want to do genealogy testing with all of the major companies? The cost ranges depending on what type of test you're getting. As I was doing research this morning to make sure I had the most up-to-date costs as of May 2020, $79 was the most inexpensive autosomal test I found, and that was from FamilyTreeDNA. Usually, Ancestry and 23andMe are charging $99 for their autosomal test. Now, you will frequently see these companies have sales around the holidays for these tests. Mother's Day sales just ended. You'll see sales pop up again around Father's Day, and then usually toward the end of the year, around Thanksgiving and Christmas, they'll go on sale again. So just something to keep in mind. And that's for the autosomal test. The more specialized tests you add on, and if you add on some health analysis, I saw bundles today that were $400 and up for the full boat, all testing possible kind of thing. Which database or which testing company you use and which database your results end up going into is really your choice. If you are just looking to do some basic autosomal testing and get back some very broad information about your genetic background and want a chance at the most possible matches, Ancestry may be the place to start. But you do have to keep in mind that you don't get a ready-made family tree when you get your email back with your test results. You still have to take those test results and work through the matches and figure out how those people are connected to you in order to make these results work for you in your genealogy research. So have you done your testing yet? Like I said, my kit is sitting on the other side of the room. I will be sending that out shortly to kind of go through the process and see how it works. But if you've discovered something neat about your family or have questions about genetic genealogy, please share that information in the comments below and we will do our best to answer questions. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.